Well, Barrett, thank you, first of all, for coming in early and walking over here to
early. It's
well,
4 o'clock.
Okay, in baseball terms.
It's baseball terms.
Yeah.
That's what I always say. I have a baseball player schedule right now because I think, like, when you look at me, you think, elite athlete, world-class athlete. I have the same schedule as Austin Riley.
That's exactly what I thought when we
Yeah.
met. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. well, thank you for showing up at this time and being here. We do appreciate it. Of course, you're a new pregame, postgame host for 680 The Fan, Braves Radio Network. Previously held by one of my best friends, Kevin McAlpin. So I was happy for him to take the next step to his next opportunity, and I was really pleased when we found out you were going to get the gig because I followed you for years. I know, especially from being on the social media side of the Braves, I've seen how diehard of truly a Braves fan you are and your family. Right. So I just when we heard from 680 that you were getting that spot, we were just. I knew, I was like, they got it. It's the perfect guy.
Sweet.
So,
well, I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into the current gig and how that's going, but I did want to find out a little bit about you, background, life, and just early life, born and raised, and becoming a Braves fan. Just are you local guy, or where were you born and raised at?
Right. So I'm 44. I was born in Atlanta. We lived in Buckhead when Buckhead was like considered way out suburb, okay. Right? And we moved to Marietta in 1984, which was really, really way out. Even though it's 9 miles from downtown.
Right.
So we moved out there in 1984 when, neighborhoods just started popping up. But when I was a kid, I was born in 1980, and we had season tickets from the moment I was born. And so I saw a lot of bad baseball for the first 10 years of my life. But we'd still go. We'd go to every game. Not every game, but we'd go to a lot of games. Even have my picture on the front page of the Atlanta Journal, not the Journal-Constitution. They were still separate. 3/4 of the front page. And I always say, I was like, because we're like the only three morons that were at the game in the 8th inning when they were losing 10-0. But so I just grew up around here. When the 90s happened, it was magical for me because I'm like, oh my God, the team that I root for is actually winning. And so, just always kind of been a Braves fan. Went to Wheeler High School and so graduated from there in 1998 and went to Auburn. So I've always been around the South and, been in the media or around the media really my entire professional life. So Southern boy, true and true, and then a Braves fan, like I said, since the moment I was born. So I saw a lot of good and a lot of bad early on in my life.
The bad, I think, if you experience the bad and you go through that ride, I think you always appreciate the good, but I think going through the bad, it helps you appreciate the good that much more. I feel
absolutely. Like I'm thinking, wow, Ken Oberkfell. Like compared to Terry Pendleton, like nothing against Ken Oberkfell, but yeah, I mean, like watching that happen after, I was biggest Dale Murphy fan, biggest Bob Horner fan, Bruce Benedict, all those guys. Rick Mailer was my favorite pitcher. I'd imitate all the pitchers in the 80s, like their different motions. And so, like, I knew all those guys, and still we're losing 100 games a year. And it's like, God, can we finally get through? And then to see it finally happen, it was almost surreal to me, like going to, because we rode MARTA down to the 5 Point station, then took the bus over, like going to those playoff games in 91. It's like, this is not real life. Like I'm not used to, this is not baseball to me. This is a whole new world that I'm not accustomed to yet. And then we got accustomed to it really, really quickly.
Yeah. So the 91 team, because that's when I hopped on board, but I'm just a couple years younger than you. So I was about 8 years old when that team, and that team was what first got me into baseball. I think I was just slightly too young to appreciate how cool. I knew it was cool, but I don't think I grasped it yet. You were like more 11, 12, and you've been going for years. So that's the right age for that. Just it was a magical season. Those teams were really magical, but for that age, that time, that had to be just pure magic.
Yeah, 1991 in the playoffs, I was 11 at that time. And so that was the time where I was in the midst of Little League, and our Little League was kind of interesting because not now, like now you switch teams from year to year. We had the majors was called what we had. It was 9 to 12, and you could get drafted as a 9-year-old, 10-year-old, 11-year-old, 12-year-old, and you'd stay with the same team. And so when I was in Little League, like 3 of my best friends were on my team from the time we were 9 to the time we were 12, and all 3 of us the biggest Braves fans. So like after practices, we'd be like, okay, are we going? Can we go? And a lot of times we just pick up our stuff and go to a Braves game right after practice. It was awesome.
Oh, that is super cool. I love that idea that you guys got to stay together for multiple years. I played Little League. I maybe had one or two teammates that I had repeatedly, but it didn't happen very often.
Oh, it was cool. There were trades, all that stuff.
Were there really trades?
Legitimately, yeah. We had trades. Like I didn't get traded, but our coaches would trade players 100% from year to year. Yeah, and draft picks.
I love it.
Seriously happened.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, I love
East
it.
Marietta Little League back in the day.
Oh, that's great. Oh, I love it. Okay, so you went to Auburn, as you mentioned. You were there probably around the same time as Tim Hudson. Maybe you're a little after.
I was after Tim
You were
Hudson.
after Tim
Yeah,
Hudson.
his
Yeah, 'cause he's a
senior
little bit
year
older.
was my senior year of high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so you get out of Auburn. Did you know, how early on did you know sports media was where you wanted to go into?
I knew going in that's what I wanted to major in, and so that was kind of the plan all along. Midway through college, you start to get associated with these different organizations, and I had the opportunity to either go work for the TV radio side, like the campus side, or work at media relations with the football program and the baseball program, the basketball program. And I know a lot of folks in our world would say, hey, you go do TV, you go do radio, you go do a student newspaper. And I said, no, I want to know what the people on the media relations side do, and also meet the people that they know, because that's going to help me right out of college long term. So I did media relations for the last half of my my college career, and so I was doing football, every home game, some away games, the SEC championship game when we played Florida in 2000. Go to bowl games with them, and then basketball. After that, I started the year after Auburn was really good, because my freshman and sophomore year we had Chris Porter, and we were number one in the country, and then there were agent things, and then there were other things that Chris Porter did, and all that stuff, and it came crashing down. But I was with the basketball team then, and also with baseball, so I got to know all the media guys, the producers, the directors, all that through media relations, and I think a lot of folks that are in my business would go back and do that. Instead of doing student newspaper, student TV station, student radio station, because it gives you, gave me a different perspective on the industry as a whole, but also the people within an organization or a school or whatever that kind of make this whole thing run.
Yeah, you're kind of seeing how the sausage is made, essentially.
Yes.
Yeah.
And some of it's good, some of it's like, wow, you guys put up with a lot.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
a lot of us on this side are idiots. Why do you deal with us?
Yeah. So out of college, what was the first career move out of college?
So sort of how I imagined it. I knew I met a few folks at ESPN and Fox Sports Net and stuff. So Fox Sports Net locally was in Colony Square, so I interned there. I was like, I'll stay at my family's house and go intern downtown. And so they hired me after I graduated, and I was there for like 3 years. We did the back at that time. There were like the regional sports reports, the 10 o'clock, like sort of, it was the Southern Sports Report, but they had them all over the country. We also did our Arizona Sports Report out of there for financial reasons. Yeah,
okay.
It's just cost, whatever. So I did that. I worked on Southern Sports Tonight and the Southern Sports Report, which is the 6:30 show and the 10 o'clock show. We had the Braves once a week. Every Wednesday we had a Braves game. And so I worked there. I started as an intern. I was a production assistant, associate producer by the time I left. And by the time I left, the Southern Sports Report, that brand, was on its way out. And what it eventually became was, the Hawks postgame or the Braves postgame, and I don't even know what they called it before it became Bally. But that's what kind of our what I worked on became. But I was in the fall. It was all the Southern teams. It was the Falcons. I had Panthers because they were in our region. A little bit of Titans, and then basketball. It was mostly Hawks, but Hornets and some other things too when they were in Charlotte. So mostly all regionalized within Fox Sports Net, which eventually became what we see today, which is like the Braves pregame, the Braves postgame, and things like that.
Okay. Now, all of that, none of that was any of that on air. That was all you're all.
No, I was
behind.
I was behind the scenes. Yeah,
okay.
I was behind the scenes.
Okay. So, and that's there's so many things I want to ask you because I started I've researched and read up on your career a little bit, and you've kind of done it's kind of like the way you started your career and the way you treated it at Auburn, wanting to get your experience with everything. I feel like that served you well because not only are you on air, but you've written, you've done different types of on air. So, all right. So after Fox Sports Net, then what is the next move there? Or it seems like to me you've always been doing a few things at once. Is that kind of how it's been?
Yeah, I have. Before I get to that, you mentioned doing a bunch of things. His name's Rick Smith, one of my professors at Auburn. He actually does the PA at Jordan-Hare. He is the head of the communications department, still is. And back in the day, he said to all of us, hey, convergence is the future of media. And I'm like, convergence? What is that? Like, stop speaking like in code. Tell me what that is. And he said, if you write, you need to do radio. If you do radio, you need to do TV. If you do TV, you need to do, like, all of it's going to converge. And this was in 2000. And look at what happened. It's exactly the way it played out. So all, like, my mindset, even when I was a senior and junior at Auburn, when I was working for media relations, is do that. Like, learn how everybody does everything, because all of it's different. It's all in the same family, but you have to approach it from a different sort of different place. So, so after Fox Sports Net, I was like, okay, I didn't necessarily want to do TV. There were a lot of things that, were in play when I left. So I actually went and worked. I was part of a sports and entertainment investment firm called Concept Entertainment Group. At the same time, I also started writing a little bit on the side. But we did a bunch of stuff. We had, we had a movie agency. We had a couple other things, but we did like infomercials, things like that. But we also started a National Lacrosse League team. We were based here, and we all stayed here, but it was in suburban Chicago. It's called the Chicago Shamrocks. So in addition to the writing and stuff, I was on the business side of all of that, and I also did color commentary for the web broadcast. I didn't know anything about lacrosse. I faked my way through that as much as I possibly could. So I did that, and we had 2 seasons, and then the 2 things happened. 1, the recession hit, and then 2, the co-owner was basically using it to run a Ponzi scheme.
Oh, okay.
So things went sad. He went to federal prison for a little while.
Okay.
So that was like the reset button, like, oh, crap, what am I going to do now? No one's got jobs. And then the job I did have, the guy was stealing tons of like millions and millions of dollars from the company. I was like, okay.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I had a question before that. What was it? No, that threw me for a loop. Oh, okay. I was going to ask, how do you prepare for providing color commentary for a sport that you don't really know anything about? How do you prep it? I knew all the guys. So back then, I think it's still the case now with the National Lacrosse League. They're mostly all flown in the weekend of, because most of them are either in Canada or they're Native Americans in New York, like, because that's basically what happens is, okay, you're playing ice hockey in the arena, the ice melts, and you play lacrosse in the same arena. So I knew the guys, and I'd go to practices, and I'd see all this stuff, and I knew what their plans were because I just was there, and nobody else was. And honestly, nobody else cared in Chicago. We were trying to get them to care, but if I was wrong about stuff, nobody called me out on it. So just watching it and trying to figure out exactly who's doing what, why, and how. And yeah, it just kind of came about naturally, I guess. That's interesting. Yeah, but my sister actually worked for a year for the lacrosse league a few years ago as an athletic trainer, and that was how she spent her season. Was every weekend they were flying into a different city because that's where all the teams were playing, and she was assigned to her team, and she was their athletic trainer. But it was fascinating to kind of live that through her eyes, to see how a completely different sport and business model operated at that time.
Yeah, it was
and
interesting.
To my knowledge, her owner has not been jailed for a Ponzi
not indicted.
scheme. Not that I'm aware.
Not federally indicted.
Yeah, not that I'm aware. I hope that's still the case.
Goals in life. One of them is don't get federally indicted by anybody.
That's pretty big on my list.
It's a low bar, but
that is really high on my list.
Right.
Don't commit a crime that gets me incarcerated.
Sure. Yeah. Yes, that's not ideal. But yeah, so I mean, I never thought my career would take me there, but it did. I mean, and honestly, I learned a lot about the business side of sports and athletics and entertainment too. Like the movie side, I did a lot of stuff with that. Actually, was an extra in a movie that we shot. I was actually a baseball player in a movie that was set in the 1950s. I was in charge of managing some of that, and they're like, "Hey, you played baseball. Can you get some of your friends?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, sure."
What was the movie? What was it called?
Oh man, this is another funny story. It's called Walker Payne. Okay.
Okay.
Jason Patrick's in it. Sam Shepard's in it. Drea DiMatteo's in it. There's some people that are in it.
Okay.
But it's about dogfighting in the 1950s.
Oh wow.
So basically, the gist of it is it's about dogfighting in a Rust Belt town, and these dogfighters, they meet at a minor league baseball stadium to like discuss whatever they discuss. And so they met at a minor league baseball stadium, and there was a game going on, and I was the pitcher in the game. And so it was dusk till dawn, middle of summer, wool 1950s baseball uniforms, real authentic 1950s cleats, which are basically ballet shoes with 6 nails in them.
Yeah.
And I mean, I threw so many dang pitches. And by the time I got in my car the next day, I couldn't even shift it into reverse. My arm hurt so bad.
Oh, I bet.
I mean,
because you're just doing it over and over and over
and over. And see, what was cool because they told us like, we didn't have like a script. They were just like, just play a game. And we're like, okay. Like, and we just like all of the 2 teams were like, okay, we'll just play and we'll kind of be our own umpires and just mess around all night.
Oh my gosh.
Literally all night.
Did you get to interact with any of the stars of the movie? And I'll just get right to it. Did you get to hang out with Drea De Matteo?
I did not.
I'm a huge Sopranos
She
fan,
was not in that scene.
Oh, okay.
Jason Patrick and Sam Shepard were. Sam Shepard was cool. I didn't
cool.
see Jason Patrick, but Sam was like, he'd hang out and
That's
takes and like, hey, what are you throwing? I'm like, it's supposed to be a curveball, but I've been doing it for 6 hours and my elbow hurts, so it's not curving that much anymore.
Oh, what a cool story! All right, so we've got. We're covering all the things here. I love it. You got lacrosse, Ponzi schemes,
Sure.
movies. So how did you start getting into? I know you've done a ton of college football work, both writing for a bunch of different outlets and Sirius XM, obviously. So how did that kind of start becoming a big part of your career?
So when I was at that investment firm, like I would write for College Football News just kind of on the side, which was and still is one of the biggest college football dedicated solely college football websites out there. But back then it was the only one. Like the All-American team was considered one of the 5 that are viewed as like consensus, like part of the consensus, the official ones. So I started writing there just kind of on the side. Pete Futek, who I had a pretty good relationship with beforehand, is like, yeah, dude, like you want to come write some SEC stuff? Fine, let's work that deal out. So I did that for like 4 seasons. And in 2012, in the winter of 2012, Bleacher Report, which was at the time just all fan generated, just anybody can sign up and write whatever, like all that stuff. They had announced that they were becoming more mainstream. They'd already hired 5 full-time, heads of different, writing departments. So they hired a bunch of professional writers, and so they hired me as one of the 2 or 3 college football writers. And at the same time, it was, we had video responsibilities too. And so did TV with them, like, over the top streaming TV and writing. And then so in 2014, Sirius XM, Bleacher Report basically rebranded one of the channels, Bleacher Report Radio. But it had nothing to do with Bleacher Report, but we had, they hired hosts to be full-time or part-time hosts, and I was one of them. So I had that was a Sirius XM contract that I primarily worked on Bleacher Report Radio, but also did the college football channel, did Mad Dog, things like that. And so after I left BR in 2016 and moved to CBS, I mean, that was a Sirius XM contract, so I just kept on going with that, and then was at CBS for 7 years, writing for the website and doing TV for them with CBS Sports HQ. When I was there, CBS Sports HQ, which is their over-the-top streaming network, came into existence. So I was doing, hits for that all the time, especially during the season. So that's kind of like how it operated. Like I went from, kind of doing college football news, which is fully legitimate, but as a kind of a part-time deal on the side, to being hired by Bleacher Report as a full-time guy and, working the video aspect of that in new media into CBS Sports HQ, and at the same time, sort of the Sirius XM, deal sort of came in sort of by accident, honestly. But I still have a Sirius XM contract, so I can still go over there and do stuff if I need to.
Is there a favorite moment? It could be story, game, highlight, or something from your college football. I mean, there's a zillion college football things you've done, but is there one moment that stands out as kind of your favorite, or one show, anything that's like that? Man, that was biggest highlight so far.
Yeah, so I was at the Kick Six in Auburn. I went to Auburn. Obviously, I grew up an Auburn fan, whatever. So like that part was cool in and of itself, but they let us on the field for the final 5 minutes. So, that's just, different schools have different policies for Auburn. It's like, okay, it's hard to get down on the field, so you guys can come for the final 5 minutes. So I'm sitting in the end zone, and Chris Davis catches it like right in front of me. And from the moment it was kicked, we're like, that's not that's not making it. I think a lot of folks were like, oh, it's going to go. It's like, no, that kick had no chance. So he caught it and cut like to the left and cut like right in front of me. And he's running down the field. And after a while, a lot of the Alabama offensive linemen were trying to tackle. Like they were there in the way. So when he made a cut about the 50-yard line, I didn't see it. Like I have no idea what was happening. I couldn't see him. But I felt the students start to push. And me and this other guy, Justin Hokinson, who still does Auburn for the On3 network, looked at each other and we were like, okay, we're about to get trampled. So we just took off. Like we're probably at the 20-yard line when Chris Davis crosses the end zone. Because it was like, okay, A, we don't want to get trampled, and B, this is pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing. Oh, that is so cool. Those are, and I don't have an allegiance in that fight, but that's just one of those moments, like you say, kick six, and to me, not as a fan of either school, I immediately can picture the entire play because it's just one of those iconic sports moments. It's so interesting to me when we talk to somebody who's been there, one of those moments that like you've seen on TV or replayed on social a zillion times. But to actually have been there and lived it, that is amazing.
Yeah,
That's
it was
super
cool.
And that it's your school.
Yeah, that was awesome. And then the Alabama walk-off national championship, and I guess it was 2018 was the year, but it was the 2017 national championship. I grew up hating Alabama, but still, like I enjoy the sport. Devontae Smith literally ran, like we're what? 8 feet apart.
Yeah,
he ran right in front of me. Like legitimately, I could have reached out and touched him before he caught that ball. And so, like, I have a video of my angle of it is just like beautiful, just perfect.
Okay, as you're saying that, you had to have tweeted that.
Oh yeah,
right?
It's out there.
I feel like I'm sure I watched it because that's ringing a bell now.
Yeah.
Obviously, my wife, who's a Georgia grad, not as big of a fan of that one, so I don't think I was watching that around her. But
I was standing, like the Georgia cheerleaders were behind me, like on the sideline, and you hear them all go no, because they see it happening before everybody else, because he's just running free, and you could hear him just like into the pain, just kind of like get sucked out of him as the ball's in the air.
Yeah. Well, that brings us to where we're at now, present day, pregame, postgame host, 680 The Fan, Braves Radio Network. So just tell me about getting the job, first of all. I mean, as soon as you saw that that K-Mac was leaving, it was an opening, I assume you're like, okay, I'm throwing my hat in the ring right away, right?
Yeah, I mean, I love K-Mac. We've been friends for a long time. And so when he left, I was still doing college football, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore with college football because I love the sport, but I'm at a point now where I'm just like, all right, tell me when the season starts, tell me who's on what roster, and we'll go from there. And it's going to be awesome for 5 months, and then all this other nonsense in the offseason you guys can have. But if you're covering college football, you got to do that.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm just like, this sucks. Like, it sucks. So I didn't know for sure what I wanted to do. But then, like, I sat back and talked to my wife. I was like, okay, I should do this. Like, this is something that I want to do. It's kind of a dream to be part of the Braves Radio Network, be part of the Braves. It's just to be associated with something like that is, it has prestige, especially to me, because I grew up with, Skip and Joe and all those guys. They were, always there. I'm not saying that I'm those guys, but, they're all part of it. And so we were like, yeah, you should do that. Like, let's have a change. Let's see if we can go do that. And so, I reached out. I'm honestly have been friends with the folks at 680 forever. My best friend does sales there. A lot of my other friends do sales there. I actually worked there doing sales for like a minute before the recession after the whole, other nonsense. But, so, I was like, okay, we can, I know those guys. I don't have to like go introduce myself. I'm just going to go have adult conversations and be like, hey, I'm interested in this. What are your thoughts? And so from there, just kind of snowballed, and here I am.
How's it going so far?
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's great. It's, it's a dream come true. It's not, it's kind of where I want to be forever. Like, I think part of it was, okay, what's the goal from here? Because I'm 44. Like, where do you want to go? What do you want this to lead to? And I'm like, nowhere. Like, I'm good. Like, this is where I want to be. The start of the season was difficult. Not gonna lie, trying to make the first 7 games interesting and try to calm people down was not easy.
Hey, this comes back to what we were saying earlier. The bad makes you appreciate the good that much more.
And that's exactly what I thought when things started to get going. I was like, wow, this is accurate reflection of my life.
Yeah.
Like, I know this. Like, this, I got this down. So it's been great. You know, all the folks at 680 have been awesome, very supportive. You know, helping me out when I don't know about certain reads we have to do that have been around for a while. Okay, what's the role? What do I need to say here? Is there something specific we need to push or whatever? You know, they've been great, and everybody at the Braves, the access they provide, is awesome. And one of the things that I've noticed, because I was in there a little bit I did the AJC podcast for like a minute last year, but one thing I've noticed with the players in the clubhouse is that everybody's welcoming. You know, in football, they treat us like adversaries, right? Like, and I don't know if it's a player. I think it's overarching. That's kind of the mindset. Because after COVID, they limited like everything we could do. Like all of the things they wanted to implement in terms of restricting our access and restricting things that media does, they did. But for baseball, and I think it's more so for the Braves, it's just like they're saying, okay, you guys are a part of this. Now, obviously, we're not a part of the team, but we're going to make sure that you guys understand that, hey, you're wanted, you're needed, and we're going to help you do your jobs well. So all of this is successful as a not just an organization, but as the Braves country is successful. So, it's been like I said, it's a different world, and I think a different world for the better in a lot of different ways.
How was the first rain delay show?
Oh God.
I didn't get to hear it, so it's an honest question.
It was curious. 2.5 hours, and so there were writers. I'm not going to tell you who, but I think you can probably guess which writers were calling in and acting as characters, and
I've got to
probably figure out which one's which.
Yep.
And so it was interesting too, because it was that Phillies game that ended at like 1 a.m. At about an hour and a half in, because I was hoping to, like, my first one, I was like, just give me 30 minutes, it'll be fine, whatever. About an hour and a half into it, we knew, like, we knew it was going to happen. We knew they were going to get started back up. So we put Bobby Cox's Hall of Fame speech on, and I think Fred McGriff's and somebody else's, Smoltz. But for the hour and a half before that, we're just taking calls. And I literally am sitting back with my feet up on the table in the studio going, all right, what do you guys want to talk about? I'm here. And so I made up a question. It's like, okay, before you get on the air, we do this at SiriusXM. Before you get on the air, you have to answer a gateway question. And I was like, okay, this one's going to be best baseball movie. And so that was before anybody got on the air. Yeah. They had to answer it. And if I thought it was a bad answer, I'd argue, and they wouldn't be allowed on for a little while and make their lives miserable. But, that kind of stuff, it actually is fun, especially when you can play along with some of those folks who are just kind of there to mess with you. Caller-driven radio there are times and places for it, I think. Yeah. And that's definitely a place for it. So you have to kind of welcome that with open arms. So it was fun. It was fun. I really hope the next one's not 2.5 hours.
Yeah, well, I hope for your sake too. Well, you know what though? You got team started 0-7. Your first rain delay show was a marathon show. So in a way, this is just everything after this is like gravy.
Yeah,
right? Like
it's true.
It's just putting you right into the baptism by fire.
Right, exactly. There's nothing else. I say this, knock on wood. This is not wood, but whatever.
Close enough.
There's no other curveballs I think that can be thrown our way.
Oh, yeah. you just doomed yourself. I don't care how much wood you knock on. Yeah. That's like being in the press box and looking out at the sky and saying, "Man, it's perfect. We're not going to see any rain tonight."
Clouds rolling right behind you.
Skies open up.
I mean, but honestly, it's with the Braves too. Yeah. I mean, you've had the losing streak, you've had the suspension, you've had the injuries, and you've had. It's just like, wow. This is like the longest month ever in terms of things that have happened to a baseball team. We were like, and that's interesting to me. I think that's the good and the bad. I mean, hopefully the bad doesn't happen, but I mean, there's always talking points, and the passion that all of that stuff brings out in Braves country it's really what makes my job fun, because, I'm a Braves fan first. That's who I am. And so I feel the pain when things go wrong. Yep. If I feel the joy when things go right, I'm I'm kind of the voice of reason, I think, because I think a lot of people kind of treat baseball with a football mentality, like, oh my God, we lost a game, everything sucks, fire everybody. It's like, calm down.
Yeah.
Long season.
Yep.
I know you're hurting. I'm hurting. I hate it too, but it'll be okay. You know?
Yeah, you have to have that mentality to work.
Yeah.
Especially for you being on air, but I think working in the game, you have to have that mentality about it. You can't. It's in the same as the players and good managers will say. It's you can't get too high or too low.
Exactly.
And it's all the cliche things, but they're cliches because they're true. It's a long season, and there's going to be peaks and valleys for the greatest team that ever existed. Still lost dozens of games.
Yeah.
It's just the way it works.
Well, and I know, like in sports in general, media, fans, whatever, all the coaches, managers, whatever, will say, well, we take it one game at a time. We focus on the process. You name it, like whatever terminology, they use. But that's actually true.
Yep.
Like, that's how their minds function. I interviewed Brent Key at Georgia Tech. This was because I went to Ireland to cover the Georgia Tech Florida State game last year. I talked to him like two or 3 weeks beforehand. I'm like, what are you focused on? Have you gotten to Florida State game plan, whatever? And I know you guys don't want to. I know you're going to say, and I basically preempted him. I know you're going to say you take it one game at a time and whatever. And then he looks at me when I ask a question. He goes, "Thank you for not getting mad at me for saying stuff like that, because you're the first person who's ever told me that you understand that's how our minds operate." And it's true.
It is.
It's and. We hate that, and in the media, I'm sure fans hate that. But it's like that's how their minds work. They're different than us.
If you're looking at a game, if you're thinking about a game a week from now, that's how you lose the six that happened before it.
Exactly.
That's how it works. All right, before I let you go, I'm going to ask you one question before you're allowed to go. What is the best baseball movie?
Major League.
Oh, right. That is the correct answer. I can't even argue with it. It is the
best.
That's correct.
I will tell you the most underrated baseball movie, and I know people don't think of it, but For Love of the Game.
It's solid.
The reason why is that it's because it can be a comedy, it can be a sports movie, it can be romantic. Everybody can have something in that movie that they like. Non-sports fans, if they like romantic stuff, it's there for you.
Yeah.
It does not get the love it deserves.
I agree. And I think it's because Kevin Costner made not one, not two, but three great baseball movies, and it's always the third that people think of. Oh, yeah,
that one.
There's also that one, but I will watch that just as much as I watch the other two. I enjoy it. Yeah. I always, Major League's number one, mine that some people will be like, really? That's your second one? I highly underrated. I just think it's hilarious. I love Mr. Baseball. Tom Selleck where he goes to Japan. Yeah. I think it's a great movie. And actually, co-stars Dennis Haysbert, is that his name? Who plays Serrano in Major League. Yep. He's also Mr. Baseball.
He's also President Palmer in 24.
Also the best president from 24.
Great series. I actually rewatched that during COVID. I'm like, wow, this is timeless. It doesn't get old.
It's Jack Bauer is my hero.
So good.
That's the best.
So good. But now we'll say this, and I have to give credit where credit's due. Major League's the best baseball movie.
Yeah.
I will die on this hill. You're a little too young for it, but Rad is the best movie of all time.
I've never seen
BMX movie. Go watch it, 1986.
Okay, I don't even think I've heard of it, so I've got to watch that, and I've got to watch. Oh gosh, I've already forgot it had a great name. The movie you were in.
Walker Payne.
Walker Payne.
It's terrible.
How could I forget? No,
it's awful. It's so bad.
See, I have a love for some movies that are so bad. It's like that. They're so bad they're good.
This is not that.
No, it's just bad.
It's horrible.
Okay. I'm definitely gonna watch it now. Well, Barrett, thank you so much for joining us, man. Thank you for taking the time, and I'm gonna hope that if there is a rain delay tonight, that it is brief.
Don't say that. You don't say the R word. We can't say the R word.
Reverse jinx. That's fine. Barrett, thank you so much, man. We appreciate
My pleasure.
you.